Hey everybody, welcome into the show this week. I'm Gary.
This is Austin.
And we are Midwest Mike's coming back at you with another show. Took last week off. I was out in Vegas, so sorry about that.
Austin. Oh, poor you.
Yeah, I know. Poor me out in Vegas. Had to spend a week out there and, try to make some money. But didn't quite get it done. But we are in a work with a sponsorship, so hopefully on our show right after the first of the year, we'll have an announcement on that to let you guys know that we have our first sponsor. So just waiting on all that to come in. But we'll go ahead and get into today's show. We have a guest here, DJ Pittel, a guy I've coached with, known since 2014. He started coaching at St. Pius X as an assistant O-line coach in 2005. In 2007, moved over to Bishop Miege, was a run game coordinator, O-line coach, running back coach, special teams coordinator. During his time there, he was there from 7 to 12. 2012, moved over to Blue Valley Southwest as the offensive line coach, which I believe that was their first year as a school, right?
Third year as a school.
Third year as a school, okay. And then was at Park Hill South for a year, coaching Y's and H's. Then 2014 became the offensive coordinator at Ruskin, which is where we crossed paths. And then left there after 15 and 16 to currently has been at William Chrisman as the offensive coordinator, and they've had some great success over there. And we'll let him talk a little bit about that. But he's got 14 years coaching experience, done a lot of things. I had a comment on Twitter the other day, something about, man, all these coaches you have on move around a lot. It's just kind of the nature of the business. You get some guys who luck out and get at one school their whole career, and most of us, though, do move around quite a bit. So, DJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm super excited to be here. This is pretty cool. Very excited.
Why don't you just talk a little bit about, I briefly ran through, some of the places you've been. Why don't you kind of expound on some of your experiences at those different places?
I got really lucky. I had decided to go back to school, 32 years old, decided to go back to school and finish my degree. And in my teacher program, my advisor told me to go find a coach to follow. I was working at P.F. Chang's, and that night Rick Byers came in. And got in with Rick Byers. He's a Hall of Fame coach. And I had just seen him. He had been featured on Metro Sports. They did the whole year. They followed him for like the season and the playoffs. And at that time, the hottest coaches were Rick Byers, Kelly Donahue, Blue Springs, and Rick Severino. So here's Rick Byers, and I get in and start talking to him, and he decided to take me on as a free coach, right? And I got lucky enough, blessed to be assigned to Tim Grunhard. And that's where I learned the offensive line was from Tim Grunhard. And having someone of that ilk and that experience who's learned from Howard Mudd and Alex Gibbs and Art Shell and Mike Solari, having that type of information, it was super lucky to be with. And, he is a little demanding.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He thinks he knows some stuff.
Yeah, he
right?
probably does.
12 years, he thinks he knows some stuff. Like, he's always trying to, butt in. And I'm not smart enough to try to change what he said. I just did what he said because that's the easiest thing to do was to follow. And so when he went to Bishop Miege, I was the first guy he called. And that was a big deal to go and go to a program that was down. The year before we got there, they had scored 6 touchdowns in 9 games. 3 of them were in 1 game.
Isn't that hard to imagine? That's hard to imagine Bishop Miege being bad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like everybody's homecoming game.
Like now they're really good. But it's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine that now.
And everybody forgets that we were so bad. We were so bad.
They were not considered a good program. No. Even on the bottom level here in Kansas City.
No, we were absolutely terrible. We went there, and the kids bought in. The work ethic. Those kids provided a really good work ethic, and we really pushed the weight room and commitment to the team and building something. And it went from 2 wins to 3 wins. And all of a sudden, we are now a state playoff contender, and then we win a state championship, and we had outstanding players: Justin McKay, Trevor Rutherford, Max Shortell, Neil Shortell, Emilio Olivas, some guy named Shane Ray that you guys may have heard of, Phil Ford, Bobby Gurman. The year that we won state, we were 2-2 at one point, and we went 12-2 for the season. That senior group was 12-2 in football and state championship, and went 25-0 in basketball and won a state championship.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good group of kids.
You didn't lose since like the second week of September.
Yeah.
Right?
That's pretty remarkable.
And that team, we had a kid named Devin Love, who probably is the best athlete I've ever seen. He blew his knee out in like the second game. So we have a kid named Bobby Gurminder, moved from corner to running back, ends up rushing for 1,500 yards. Right? Steps in, does tremendous, and then we just start building. And it was a tremendous experience. It took great pride in building Miege to what it is today. And when you see where the effort the kids put in, because now Miege is one of the elite programs in the city. It didn't used to be that way. Now it's just Miege.
Yeah.
Before it was Bishop Miege. Now it's just Miege, and everybody knows what's coming out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I'd even say, elite. We know it's elite here in Kansas City, but I mean, I'd even put it up with some top programs in other states.
They finished, I think, what was it, last year? They finished in the top 50 in the country.
Yeah.
In the Max Preps.
Yeah.
So that's big. And we had a kid named, the last year I was there, we had Trey Parmalee and Montel Cozart. And you're lucky enough to have a kid like Montel who just won a Grey Cup.
Yeah,
just won a Grey Cup in the CFL. I mean, that's crazy. Like, you have a guy who won a Grey Cup.
Very cool.
Right? That's very cool. So he was Player of the Year. The next year I go to Blue Valley Southwest because Grundy left. Go to Blue Valley Southwest. We have a kid named Aaron Ramsey. So we have Montel Cozart. We're running the spread, right? Throwing it. He's ripping and running. He's the EKL Player of the Year, State Player of the Year. The next year I go to Blue Valley Southwest. We're running the flex bone. We have a kid named Aaron Ramsey. Ends up being the Offensive Player of the Year in the EKL. Kansas Player of the Year. He's playing tight end up at South Dakota right now. Go to Park Hill South. Had some great time there. And I decided I'm going to try to, give back to some more kids. So I went to Ruskin. Things just didn't work out like I wanted to at Ruskin. Took the year off. I had a grandchild that was going to be born during football season. So I decided, I was like, I'm going to take a year off, help my son, try to get this going because Xavier was born September 30th. And then got the call from Scorpio Horn, who I had worked with at Park Hill South. He was the head coach at William Chrisman. I go to William Chrisman. And, William Chrisman wasn't anything, right?
Yeah.
And this senior class is going to get ready to graduate, is now has won 24 games in 4 years. It's the most wins by a senior group ever in the history of the school. We won a conference championship. It was the first time since 1956 we won a conference championship. I'm just thinking about this. Historically, Kennedy and King were still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yep.
Jim Crow was still a law. Like, segregation was real.
Yep.
The last time we had won a conference title. And there weren't that many teams in the city back in the 50s.
Right.
So it's been a long time for us to be good. And we had some tremendous athletes. James Bailey, who is killing it up there at Mo West right now, where Scorpio Horn is right now. He's doing well. Daniel Carson there at Texas. So we've had some kids who can go on. We have a kid this year, Kelvin Mason's going to go to Missouri State, and it's a good time.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. Being a part of really turning around two of what are now the better teams in Kansas City. Like we said, Miege was never known for really anything football-wise before you got there, and you kind of laid some of the groundwork to help build that up. And then, to go to a William Chrisman where, they've never really been a top team over there. And like you said, haven't won a conference championship since the 50s. I mean, my parents weren't even alive.
Right.
When that happened. That's how long ago that was.
We had, when we got another, I got to go back to Miege real quick. The first meeting we sat in, we were watching film. And Grundy and I had just left St. Pius, and St. Pius had gone to one state, lost in the state playoffs, and lost in the state playoffs again. Then we left, And we sat down at that first meeting, and we're watching film. And Miege has a center. This kid named Eddie Locke, who went to go to Doane, played 4 years at Doane. Okay, kid has one arm playing center.
Wow.
And I looked at Grunny and I was like, what are we doing here? Like, that kid has one arm playing center. We move him to guard. He can, with one arm, he can bench press. He can dumbbell press 125 pounds with one arm.
Yeah.
Goes to Doane, plays guard for 4 years.
Yeah.
But you were like, oh, listen, we are really good at St. Pius.
Yeah. I mean, and
We had dudes.
you know, you mentioned Rick Byers. I mean, that guy is a coaching legend. You know.
Absolutely.
I mean, here in Kansas City, anybody who has been a football coach or been around football, I mean, knows the name and just the legend and what he has done up there at St. Pius.
Yeah.
I mean, it is remarkable over his stretch.
And you get blessed by being with a guy like Rick Byers, the quality man that he is, right? It's the man that he is. Tim Grunhard, the man that he is. Start coaching with a guy that was a first-year coach named Justin Hoover,
Yeah.
right? Who was like the defensive backs coach and the assistant defensive coordinator. Then he becomes a defensive coordinator at Miege. And Hoover and I have had this friendship that have gone back, and it's amazing how what he's doing now. And to see him finally get a head job at Shawnee Mission East is tremendous. And he's one of the, he is the future.
Yeah.
And it's tremendous. I mean,
Yeah.
you're with him every day now, and it's just he's another outstanding man.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about that on the show. We had him on the show. I mean, he was a great guest, and I mean, yeah, he is very, very football knowledgeable. But you're right. I mean, the person that he is and the guy that he is it trumps all that.
Absolutely.
I mean, he is just, he's always looking. Hey, how can I help these kids? How can I help my coaches? How can I help? How can I help the school?
Yep.
I mean, I saw on his Twitter yesterday, he brought his girls up to watch a girls' basketball practice here. I mean, how many head football coaches at other places are going to watch a girls' basketball practice?
Right.
Just to show up and do that.
Mm-hmm. And Justin and I, Leon Douglas at North Kansas City, he's head coach there, who happened to be the Simone Coach of the Year.
Yep.
Shout out to my man Leon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Charlie Pugh, who's at Truman. We all work with a group now called Epic 7. Mm-hmm. And Epic 7 is a 7-on-7 team here in Kansas City. We were very lucky. There are 5 Epic 7 teams in the country. And because of who Justin Hoover is and what he's done working with Trent Dilfer decided that Kansas City should get an Epic 7 team. And that was a big deal. And everybody has this look on 7-on-7 right now like AAU basketball.
Yeah.
And we get some of that AAU-ness in 7-on-7. I'm not going to lie. Like, there's some people out there that just are just doing it.
I know that there are certain, especially in the coaching ranks, guys are like, I don't like this elite 7-on-7 and all these extra 7-on-7 teams because they feel like it takes away from what they're going to do at their high school.
Right,
but,
and that was a big thing that we had to fight
Yeah.
early with the coaches, with the coaching association, because Hoover was the offensive coordinator at Miege when we first started. Mm-hmm. So it was a big deal that the coaches in the city thought, oh, this is a recruiting deal for Miege, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is the way it's going to be. We're doing this team so we can find the best players in Kansas City to move to Miege. And that's what they thought.
Right.
And then they came out to a practice and saw what it was about. We have a rule with Epic 7 is we're not going to pick the best. We're going to pick the right.
Okay.
So your character matters. Coach Dilfer said one of the things with these flagship programs that we have with Epic 7 is if there is a fight, your charter's pulled. That's it. It's killed. It's over.
Yep.
And we can't have that. And so we are out looking for the right kids. And to see for this past year, Leon Douglas, Simone Coach of the Year, Graham Mertz, Simone Award winner, Otis Taylor Award winners, Cameron Burt from Blue Valley North.
Yep.
We have the Bobby Bell with Dylan Down.